Hello everyone, Scott Miles, Managing Partner of the Miles LeHane Companies. And in today's short video, what I would like to cover, the topic for today, will be networking. And I personally believe anyone in search or transition should allocate at least 75 to 85% of their time networking. But the issue is, when I bring up networking to a lot of my participants, is they cringe and they say, Scott, I'm just not that person to be networking, going out to happy hour and striking up conversations. And I say, well, let's put the brakes on there. That's really not my temperament either, but as the line of work that I do attend those events and I'm very successful at it. But I have some strategies and techniques that I like to employ, what I'll call actively and passively networking, that are just as effective, if not more effective. Before you even begin your networking endeavors, there are three foundational things that you should consider or employ. Number one, you need to be able to clearly articulate what value that you bring to the market space or the direction that you're heading. Because if you can't clearly articulate what it is that you do and the value that you deliver by performing the function or skill set that you perform, number one, why the heck would I want to hire you, let alone retain you? And you only have that one time to make that first impression. Number two, what I like to do in my networking, and it's always from a very authentic place, is really take the time to recognize either a personal or professional accomplishment with the individual that I'm engaging in. Because a lot of people in networking, it comes across as me, I, what can you do for me? When really you need to reciprocate. So always make a purpose of authentically connecting with the individual on current or past accomplishments. And lastly, as I'm working with the individual, what I like to say is, you need to put the individual that you're networking with in a position of, I don't want to say power, but put them in a position where they can freely offer feedback or their opinion. And what do I mean by that? Well, whether it's a content area expert, thought leader, whatever that might be, because as you're wrapping up your networking conversation, by putting that individual in a position of authority or power of saying, well, gosh, having a firm understanding of my background and the value that I could deliver to an organization, who do you suggest that I should be networking with? And so that's a slight twist on just going out to your network and saying, hey, I got let go, I'm in the job market, could you introduce me to a couple people, or could you pass my resume off to a few people? That is just not effective. And again, there's no rapport established before making that introduction. Another topic that always comes up is, Scott, this networking and everything sounds great, but there's a couple individuals that really fall on my list that I want to reach out to, but I haven't spoken to them in 3 or 4 years. Well, okay, that's fine, but if you go back to the three foundational things that I suggested earlier, you need to find that purpose. So here's an example. And let's just say I haven't spoken to Joe for 3 or 4 years, but we used to be colleagues in a previous role. And let's say I utilize LinkedIn as my networking platform. And I send a message to Joe. And maybe I jump on LinkedIn and shoot a message to Joe saying, hey Joe, I was just updating my profile. Your name popped up. Had a quick flashback on when we were working on XYZ project and how you knocked it out of the park, and that was just a whole lot of fun. How's everything going on your end? Well, okay, you haven't asked Joe for anything, but that should elicit some type of response. So maybe Joe shoots a note back to you and says, hey, great to hear from you, Scott. Yeah, we had a lot of fun back in the heyday. It was like the Wild West. How's everything on your end? My response to Joe might be, gosh, Joe, things couldn't be better. The family's doing great. Hard to believe the kids are now going into high school. I'm not sure if you heard, I recently left XYZ position. If you had 10 minutes in your schedule over the next week or so to jump on a quick phone call or cup of coffee, I'd love to bring you up to speed. Now, by doing that, you haven't asked for anything yet. All you're doing is getting on the phone or having a cup of coffee and reconnecting with Joe. And once you have that initial phone call, either something's going to come out of it that then might justify that lunch meeting or having lunch or extended conversation over the phone, or it might come to an end. And if there's nothing there with Joe, and I don't mean that negatively, here's what I would do, is I'd say, hey Joe, it's great catching up with you. Sounds like things are going really well on your end. And as you know, I'm still in search and understanding the value that I could deliver to an organization. Who do you suggest that I should be networking with? And then ask for an introduction. Thank you. Hopefully this was beneficial. In the description below, you can find information all about Miles LeHane and Building Block Essentials, and look forward to talking with you soon.